Why do you think it was the truckers that was able to do this? And, why was it the truckers who were driven to do this?
Well, I think one thing is that truckers, a number of them, especially if you're used to crossing the border, you have a wider perspective on the world, right? And during COVID, if you're driving through different jurisdictions and each jurisdiction has different COVID rules, you have to wear a mask in one place and you don't have to wear a mask in another place. Um, then you start to say, well, is this science or is this just, the politicians deciding, pulling stuff out of their butt? So, I think if you're a trucker, you see a wider variety of perspectives, perhaps, than people who just kind of sit in one place and go to work and come home. And so I think that's part of it. And I also think truckers are a special breed. They're pretty independent. One of the reasons you go for trucking is because you don't like a boss looking over your shoulder. You want to be out there doing your own thing a little bit. So I think, and the truckers that I interviewed, man, these are competent people. They know how to solve problems. You give them an assignment, you step out of their way and you let them do it, and they're going to get the job done. So, I think they're maybe a breed apart. And so, you know, one of my truckers from Windsor, he declines the shot. His whole career is cross-border trucking. He's right there at the border. He can't go across the border, and he's sitting at home on the sofa, and he's feeling really depressed, and he's wondering what his role is as a man, because he's not doing the breadwinner thing anymore, and he is the sole breadwinner in his family. And he says at the end of the sofa, my daughter is crying as she's sitting there weeping because she's just finished 5 years of nursing school and she's not allowed to write her exams because she won't get the vax. So, it wasn't just the truckers, it was their families. And in another case, a trucker from Winnipeg, he said, well, there was my story. I couldn't work anymore. I told my dispatcher to just stall me out in Texas because, there's no point in me coming back. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to go to Ottawa because it's not just me. My wife and my daughter were both in university and they were both being kicked out because of the vax mandates. So, these were families. These were families. It's not just that trucker. It's, these were families that were being affected. So one of the cool things is that everyone you talk to has their own story of why they were there. And they also have their own analysis of why the shot wasn't good for them. And everyone's different. Everyone is different. And that's amazing to see that, people were not making, oh, I'm afraid of needles. No, they had very, very articulate, intelligent reasons for why they were taking this stand.
What were some of those reasons?
So in one case, they had vaccinated their children. First baby got all the vaxes. And then they weren't, after one, on the schedule, because there's so many of them, after one round of vaccines, they said, I think the child is reacting badly. And then mom starts doing research. And then when the second child comes along, then they make some different decisions. So they're already down the path of, can we trust the authorities? The doctors are telling us we should do this, but our own experience says maybe not. We have to make our own decision. We can't just trust the authorities. So in another case, the Hutterite gentleman who explained, everything that the Hutterite community in Manitoba did, he said, when I try to, he's a farmer, when I try to feed things to the pigs that are not approved by the government, basically I'm told that I have to spend millions of dollars and spend years testing things to prove that this particular feed, which is approved for humans, by the way, is not going to adversely affect the pigs. I have to go through all of those hoops. I have to jump through all those hoops. That's how the world normally works. And suddenly they're telling me that this vax that was created 3 months ago, everyone should take it. And so he's just a farmer, and he's just saying, this doesn't make sense to me, right? This doesn't make sense. And then other people are saying, look, if I need a vaccine, maybe, but I'm young, I'm healthy, I just don't need it, right? So everyone's just making up their own minds. And that's what you want people to do in a free society, right?